Hi, this is Paulo from Drum & Bass Academy, and if you're thinking about getting this pack, you may want to watch this video. So not only are you getting the 100 presets, but you also get 100 WAV files. So for example, if you want to use the drums, you can have them in a WAV file like this. And not only these presets are great track starters. For example, I can load Vital, and I can simply browse through a random preset, load it, put a MIDI note, hold it, and play my track. See what I get. That's already a great start. Now, I don't want to flex the whole pack in one video. I actually want to teach you two important things that I think can level up your sound design. These two things are that one, you can learn sound design by deconstructing these presets, and two, you can turn 100 sounds into 500 if you know how to. Now, in this video, I will show you what those 2 points mean, and I'll walk you through the whole process. So, let's get started. First, how to learn sound design by deconstructing the presets. Now, if you are getting this pack, you are probably thinking about how to make that deep, minimal drum bass sound. And the thing is that this pack contains hundreds of sounds like that. For example, like this preset, or this one, or this one, even this one. Now, if you were to explore each preset, you will learn at least one special technique to achieve that sound. And if you deconstruct 100, you will now have 100 special techniques in your arsenal, which is something really, really cool. Now, I want to show you how to extract those techniques. So let's take this preset and let's try to reverse engineer it. Now, let's begin by doing the process in reverse. Let's begin with the effects. We're going to turn them off, and then we're going to go into the voice tab, and we're going to turn off the filters and every single oscillator, so we kind of get a grasp on what the process was. So let's turn off the reverb. We're seeing that the reverb gives that space, obviously, because it's reverb. Cool. There's nothing too special about it, it's just reverb. Now let's turn off the distortion. Right, so the distortion is doing a lot. It's almost like it's doing the whole sound. So now we're learning that when you have this type of setup on the oscillators, like a high pitch layer with some sub and a bit of noise and some movement in the filters, if you distort that, you get that sound. So we're picking up one technique now. Let's turn off the chorus. Let's try the chorus with the distortion. All right, so the chorus is adding so much interesting movement into the sound. So for example, if you're creating a sound and it sounds like this, and you think it's not interesting enough, you can add a chorus. And now you will get a better sound. Cool. So now let's take a look at what's happening on the oscillators. Let's turn off filter number 2. So this filter is doing kind of a wobbling effect, and it's taking oscillator 1 and 2. So let's turn it off. And let's turn off oscillator 1 and 2. Okay, so we're just getting sub and noise. So what happens if we turn off filter 1? All right, so this filter is taking the sampler and is doing that same movement. So that's where we are getting the rhythm from. Cool. So looks like we are mixing sub, noise, and these two oscillators. But what happens if we turn off oscillator 2? We're just getting that sound. The reason why is because there's some FM happening here. So whenever we want that screechy, high-pitched layer, we now know that we can use another oscillator and run FM through it. And if we explore all these settings, for example, what does this knob do? It stretches the harmonics inside of this wavetable. That's pretty cool. What happens if we move the FM? It changes the tone of the FM, right? So now if we turn all of this back on, and we now move those, it's changing the tone of our sound. Now let's change this pitch here. So it looks like that whenever we want to change the tonality of this type of basses, we need to change the pitch or the amount of FM that's happening on oscillator 2. So now we learn from this preset that distortion can have a pretty drastic effect when running sub, noise, and a high-pitch layer. Now what happens if we remove this filter? All right, so we are not getting any movement. So let's try to remove this modulation. It looks like the movement of this sound comes from this filter, right? And the thing that this is filtering is this layer. So the way you can control a sound is to put distortion and then add movement to whatever is running through that distortion. That's awesome. So this way, you can reverse engineer a preset, explore what makes a preset, and stack techniques in your sound design knowledge arsenal. We now learn something about distortion. We learn a cool thing about chorus. We learn how to do filtering to add movement to the sound. We learn a ton of stuff. Now, you can either open the presets and reverse engineer them this way, or you can straight up try to open an init patch and recreate this, and that way you will know exactly how the sounds are made. And if you think about it, you're not going to be at the same level that you were before you got this back. You will know much more about sound design and in this type of deep and minimal genre. All right, so that is point number 1. Now, point number 2 is that once you learn those techniques, you can now turn this 100 presets into 500, because once you know all of those techniques and principles, you can now, let's say, take another preset from the pack, like this one, for example, and you can apply those same principles to turn it into another sound. So this sound is heavily driven by a sub and some noise. Cool, so now in the past preset, we learned that we can add a high pitch layer and distort those two together, and we will get a screechy, super aggressive sound. So let's try to do that. Let's explore the effects. We can see that we have distortion right here. So cool. Let's turn on oscillator 2. And let's repeat the same technique from the past preset, which was running FM from a second oscillator. So for that, I'm gonna turn on FM from 3. And I'm gonna bring the level of this one all the way down. I'm gonna boost the octave on this one. Oops. And then on the past preset, we learned that when we have this type of layer, we need to filter it before we are fitting the distortion with it. So I'm gonna turn on filter number 1. And route oscillator 2 on this filter. And now we're introducing a more interesting layer into the sound. So let's use one of these LFOs and map it into this filter. Cool. So now we can play with the FM. We can now play with the distortion. And now this sound is getting even more aggressive. So let's actually try to create a new LFO. Okay, this is sounding cool. Let's decrease the amount of modulation here. And let's pitch this even higher. Nice, it's sounding nice. Now the last preset had some reverb, so what happens if we add it? Sounds nice. So now we added our own flavor into this preset. Great. And now we can experiment with it. So we took one preset and took it to the next level. Now we can repeat the process with all the other presets, and now the possibilities are endless because we can mix one technique that we learned from another sound into another, and this way we will create a whole different library of sounds. And not only that, but we will dominate this style of basses or this style of sound design, which is the deep and minimal drum and bass one. So those are the two principles that I wanted to talk about in this video. And as you can see, getting this pack has the potential of being a game changer for your sound design. I highly recommend you to get it because there's a lot of cool sounds right here. Not only because of that, but because of the potential that it has to impact your production. So that's it for this video. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.